Hello everyone. Let me show you our journey, how we manage the transition to GitHub Actions for automated tests with Robot Framework. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Roman Haladay. I started with Python programming during my high school years. And Python led me to use the Robot Framework for test automation. And now, I find myself working at the largest bank in Czech Republic. I'm part of the Center of Excellence for Testing, where our aim is to aid teams in our organization by offering best practices, research, support, and training in testing, not only with Robot Framework. Our challenge: a shift from Bitbucket and Jenkins to GitHub and GitHub Actions. Usually, our testing projects with all its data was hosted on separate repositories on Bitbucket. After cloning this repository, our testers had the flexibility to create, modify, and run tests on their own machines, or use environment orchestrated by Jenkins. As a part of our job, we are maintaining this test environment as well, that include pre-installing specific versions or modules and libraries, and so on. We are now adopting a cloud-based solution from GitHub, coupled with GitHub Actions, for handling our repositories and test executions. Although migrating might come with its own set of complexities, we believe it's crucial for our future success in streamlining our operations. Therefore, our journey of transition begins with getting familiar with GitHub Actions. As you already know, GitHub Actions are awesome. They make it easy to automate all software workflows. Basically, it's an API for cause and effect on GitHub, orchestrating any workflow based on any event on GitHub. And GitHub Managed Execution provides feedback and handles secrets as you need. But we haven't been at this level yet. We need to start simple. Most importantly, our initial focus should be on helping other teams smoothly move from Bitbucket repositories to GitHub. That move would involve rewriting scripts for execution and result processing on the new platform. Only after we achieve this small basic step, we will dive to other features that GitHub offers. There is a marketplace on GitHub where you can find actions, including ones even for running Robot Framework. But we decided we have to have more hands-on approach. We wanted to avoid dependency on external actions, especially given our limitation to use only our private servers for execution. So we had to develop our own custom actions. This allows us to ensure compatibility with our specific system and maintain more control over our processes. Namely, we use composite actions. Its benefits are that each action has its dedicated repository, allowing us to combine multiple steps or commands, or even combine commands run into one reusable action. Another big advantage is that in composite actions, commands run in the same runner. It means that we don't have to give every action runner access to the repository. We just add another command to the current one. Our first composite action is focused on environment preparation. When called, it sets off a sequence of commands. It begins with the installation of specific version of Python, followed by pip install commands to set up a Robot Framework ecosystem. System variables are then configured. And the last step is browser initialization for our web tests. On the right side, you can see how the action looks inside. We are using our own runners for GitHub. At this time, we don't have any pre-install OS for that runner. Instead, we are using slightly modified Linux, which GitHub Action uses for execution. On every run, we install everything new. This approach presents a significant advantage. It led us to update our environment and to manage unique settings depending on which branch we launch the action. Second action is all about task execution. Essentially, it's a single run command with a list of options that indicate where to look for tests, where to store output, or some other modifiers for Robot Framework run. As its last step, it calls an internal GitHub action upload artifact. This is important because in the GitHub workspace, once the runner finishes its task, it throws away any created file. And by using this action, we ensure the persistence of the results. On the right side, you can see how we combine these small actions together to successfully run a robot framework test. At the bottom, there is a third action. So let's take a look. This one is about delivering task execution results. The technology behind this action is a GitHub job summary. Essentially, it lets you to set custom markdown to each job to be displayed on the summary page of a workflow run, keeping the report visible and easy to comprehend. Now, big shout out to Jonas and Keen's work on Robot Framework Reporter action, which heavily inspired our action. If you are interested, you should definitely check out their work. What we did, we basically rewrite their action into Python and modify it to our needs. Once again, maintaining our preferences for in-house solution, running, or a shared runner. I've just recently noticed that Yanni is working on something similar. Only instead of parsing the final XML file, he is using the listeners to do it during test run. This might be even better solution because we ended up parsing that XML file with a Python module. I know that we should use a robot API and utilize something like result visitor, but in my test with a bigger file, more than 200 megabytes, it was noticeably slower. There is some reported speed up with new Robot Framework 7.0, so we look forward for retesting it once we upgrade to that release. Our last action deals with dispatching test results to Jira, specifically using X-Ray, Jira Native's test management system. We are using its API and uploading the result XML file. In this case, having the test result modified by the previous action plays another advantage. In previous X-Ray versions, there was a bug that didn't correctly display skip test. It was due to the fact that skip test had no inner keyword in it. So basically X-Ray had nothing to import. So we just make sure that even the skip test, have some inserted dummy keyword to ease X-Ray processing. On the right side, you can see a small snippet of the code that we use to modify that XML file. Again, this is something that I wasn't sure how to handle with Result Visitor from Robot API. And we are doing more tweaks like that. For example, we propagate screenshots to higher level of the structure in XML file, or we simply remove some deeply nested code that we really didn't need. By offering these 4 actions, each with its unique features, we've eased the transition into our new ecosystem that GitHub presents. Since each action exists in its separate repository, we can customize, tweak, and branch it for any desired scenario. This flexibility and time-saving approach is a big advantage for our development stage. Once this groundwork being done, we can now explore another additional benefits that GitHub offers, like, for example, running tests directly on pull request. And that's all for today. I hope this walkthrough has given you some insight into our discovery and migration journey. I'm looking forward to hear your opinions and questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Roman. I see you in the green room. We are about to go live. Let's do this. Hey, Roman. Welcome to Robocon.
Hi, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Great to have you. So we have some questions coming up. Let's get right to them. First one is, how did you create the GHA report?
Well, as I said, we basically parse the final XML. We basically read out each result for each step, and then we combine it as a markdown, and you are able to display markdown files directly on the output of the GitHub. So that's the whole story.
Awesome. Can you elaborate more on the advantages of using composite actions versus individual actions for each step? Would you recommend one approach over the other?
Well, we decided to use composite actions because for each action, you can either use the already installed runner, or you can start a new one. And for the time-consuming advantages, we use the uh, composite action because it's even faster, and we didn't have to give access to each step or each result or each files of the repository to the other actions. Basically, when using composite actions, everything is under our roof, so we manage all these accesses. It's faster for us, and it's more secure.
Perfect. How difficult was it to migrate from Bitbucket pipelines and Jenkins to GitHub Actions? Did you learn any lessons in the process?
Well, it's still difficult. Basically, we are in the process of migrating. We are not done yet. The first step is to migrate the repositories itself, and that could be quite simple. And the other big task is to get rid of Jenkins as a runner. And this is all about how we use GitHub Actions for that. Any recommendations? Start right away. Start with one or two projects. Choose one simple, maybe one that is more complex. And I believe that during these simple stages, you will learn a lot how to solve later even more complicated stuff.
What type of concerns, if any, do you have around security of using third-party actions?
Well, because we are a bank, each action that are from the GitHub marketplace must be verified by our security teams. Instead of requesting each action to be verified, sometimes it's simpler to write our own that is inspired by that what is publicly available, and we can even customize it as we need. So that's why we choose this approach.
Notice that if you are interested in keywords, you can exclude parsing them when using robots result parsing modules.
Yes, that could be one option, but we decided to use the approach that we simply collect everything and then we remove stuff that we don't need. I agree that this could be also a valuable option.
So to look at the log HTML, you need to download the artifact or you host somewhere.
Yes, that's a big disadvantage of GitHub. It wouldn't allow you to display HTML file directly. So the only thing basically that you can do is display some short summary, maybe some log, or download the whole package of artifacts that include HTML file, XML file, screenshots, maybe recorded videos, and so on. Yes, big no-no.
What was the most difficult thing you've encountered when moving to GitHub Actions?
Well, I would say for us, and I believe it's mainly because we are in a highly restricted area as a bank, to obtain access through proxy servers to web pages, basically to reach outside of our intranet. Most probably when you are using GitHub from the public servers, you wouldn't have these restrictions.
Okay, probably time for one last question. It is, are you considering transitioning to GitLab instead of GitHub?
Well, maybe I would, but it's not something that I can decide. Bank decided to move to GitHub, mainly because we are in cooperation with Microsoft. So GitLab at this moment wasn't the option for us.
Thank you again, Roman, for contributing to Robocon. I really appreciate you. Any parting words of wisdom before we go?
Thank you so much for having me. Word of wisdom, try it and you will see it will be great.
Awesome. Thanks again. Appreciate you. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.